Alaska Governor Sarah Palin and the state Republican Party are outraged that the liberal Obama Justice Department is letting a convicted criminal walk free, not because he's innocent, but because of some legal technicality that places the criminal's rights above justice. By which I mean in our number 3 story tonight, the Alaskan Republican Party is not only celebrating Attorney General Eric Holder's decision to drop the conviction of former Senator Ted Stevens, they want the Democrat who beat Stevens to resign. Governor Palin, saying she doesn't want to, quote, split hairs over whether new Senator Mark Begich should resign, still agrees with her party that the state should hold a special election to give Stevens another crack at it. Stevens, of course, was convicted on 7 felony counts related to his acceptance of free gifts, and 1 week later lost his election. Alaska's other senator, Republican Lisa Murkowski, however, and Republican Congressman Don Young opposed a new special election. Stevens, whose proclamation of innocence was apparently not believed by voters, who also apparently did not expect vindication upon appeal, is arguing that he was railroaded by a corrupt Justice Department. An odd argument to make for your qualifications as senator if you yourself actually supported the nomination of the allegedly corrupt Attorney General Alberto Gonzales, which Senator Stevens did, voting to confirm Gonzales on February 3rd, 2005. Joining us now is Margaret Carlson, political columnist for Bloomberg News and Washington editor-at-large for The Week magazine. And Margaret, thanks for being here tonight.
Hi, David. Thank you.
Any basis in law for calling a special election, let alone calling for Begich to step down?
None at all. We haven't faced this very many times, but the idea that the state would go to the expense of another election because somebody who, by the way, have you ever seen a better case of public corruption? There's an entire wing of a house that everyone knows was built by Bill Allen, the oil industry exec. The only thing that's being quibbled over, even with the prosecutorial misconduct that we know so far, is that Bill Allen said one time that the renovations were worth around $200,000 and another time $80,000. I mean, that reminds me of, we know what you are, lady of the night. We're just quibbling over the price. This is not the difference between petty and grand larceny. It's grand larceny with those amounts. And this is not to mention, the Viking grill and the shiatsu massage chair and all of the things that were in evidence and remain undisputed.
Finish this thought, if you would. If I were to say Senator Stevens has been vindicated, I would be wrong because...
if Ted Bundy was out on a technicality, would we think he was vindicated? I don't think so. I mean, they're criminals walking the street free because there was some prosecutorial mismanagement or misconduct. And as a country, we've decided we would the way to enforce protections on people who are within the justice system is to let them go if there is misconduct. We'd rather have guilty people go free than to have a Justice Department that's acting in an unjust way. It doesn't go to the guilt or innocence of the person who's thereby freed.
Under Attorney General Gonzales, with apparently no objection from Senator Stevens, the Bush Justice Department notoriously targeted Democratic officials disproportionately more than Republicans, trumped up claims of voter fraud prior to elections, and fired prosecutors who refused to bring politically motivated cases to trial. Why is today the first time we're hearing from Palin and other Republicans complaining about the corrupt Bush Justice Department?
Well, it's only when your ox is gored. I mean, the Karl Rove U.S. attorneys were all over the country were being fired for not bringing corruption cases against Democrats. Governor Siegelman in Alabama went to prison in what looks like to many people a politically motivated prosecution by a Republican U.S. attorney. There was a woman in Governor Ryan's administration in Wisconsin who went to prison. She was a low-level clerk in a travel office. And when the judge finally got the case, he released her immediately and said, what a travesty of justice. There are others, but, this is the one they care about. By the way, these senators write and congressmen write the public corruption laws. It's very hard to prosecute them because the laws are so lax. I mean, your ordinary embezzler would be thrilled to come under the laws that apply to our members of Congress. getting them convicted is very, very difficult. And in this case, you know, these were members of the Public Integrity Section of Justice who, by the way, were chosen by the Bush administration, some of whom might have been those who were chosen after they were asked what religion they were, you know, what school they'd gone to, whether they believed in stem cell research. There was a litmus test to get into Bush's Justice Department.
And finally, just in case there is a special election, people should probably know whether Stevens was actually guilty. Was he?
Well, as I said, you know, am I going to believe my lying eyes when I see the pictures of the A-frame chalet?
Margaret Carlson of Bloomberg News and The Week magazine. Margaret, thanks as always for your time. We appreciate it.
Good night, David.
Good night.